Hi everyone, it's Andrew from RunSensible. In this video, we'll explore RunSensible's Transactions feature, review bank activity, categorize or match transactions, manage posted records, view app transactions, and print checks when needed. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell icon to be notified of all new content. Let's begin. Each bank account card includes an Actions menu located in the top right corner. When you click this menu, two options appear: View/Edit Bank and Delete Bank. These options allow you to manage the selected internal bank account directly from the Transactions section. When you select View/Edit Bank, the system opens the bank account edit interface. This page allows you to update the main details of the account. You can modify fields such as the account type, chart of account number, account name, and bank number. There are also optional fields for branch name and branch address if you need to store more detailed banking information. The Delete Bank option within the Actions menu allows users to permanently remove an internal bank account from the system. This action should only be taken when the account is no longer needed and its removal will not interfere with financial records or reporting requirements. Once deleted, the internal bank account and its configuration cannot be restored. Users should carefully confirm that the account is inactive and no longer required before proceeding with deletion to avoid unintended loss of account structure or historical references within the system. To view transactions for a specific account, select the appropriate bank account card. Once selected, the transaction table below automatically updates and displays only the transactions related to that account. Selecting a different card updates the table again, allowing users to review each bank account separately. Each row in the transaction table represents one bank transaction that has been imported or synchronized into RunSensible. The table helps users review each transaction, understand what it represents, and decide how it should be handled. Each row includes a checkbox that allows users to select one or more transactions. When at least one transaction is selected, an Exclude button appears above the table on the right side. This button is used when a transaction should not be included in the review process or financial records. For example, a transaction may be excluded if it was imported more than once, if it is personal and unrelated to the business, or if it was posted incorrectly by the bank and later reversed. Excluding a transaction does not delete it from the system. Instead, it moves the transaction to the Excluded tab for reference. Click the Excluded tab, located next to the Posted tab. This tab shows all transactions that have been excluded from processing. From this tab, users can select one or more excluded transactions using the checkboxes on the left side of each row. Once a transaction is selected, two options appear at the top right of the table: Re-include and Delete. The Re-include button moves the selected transaction back to the For Review tab, while the Delete button permanently removes it from the system. The transaction table also includes several columns that describe each bank transaction. The Deposit column shows money received into the selected bank account, while the Withdrawal column shows money paid out of the account. Usually, only one of these columns contains an amount for each transaction, depending on whether money entered or left the account. The Pay/Payer column shows the person or organization associated with the transaction when that information is available. This helps users understand where the money came from or where it was sent. The Date column shows the transaction date based on the bank record. The Payment Channel column shows how the transaction was processed, such as in store, online, or another payment method. This information only appears for transactions linked through RunSensible. Manually imported transactions do not include payment channel data, so this column may remain empty for those records. The Description column displays the reference or memo text provided by the bank. This may include merchant names, transaction notes, reference numbers, transfer details, or other identifying information from the financial institution. This description helps users recognize the transaction before deciding whether to match, categorize, or exclude it. In RunSensible, bank transactions in the For Review tab can be processed using two main actions: match and categorize. These options appear on the right side of each transaction row. Both actions are used to handle imported bank activity, but they are used in different situations depending on whether the bank transaction already relates to an existing record in the system. The Categorize option is used when there is no existing internal record to match with the bank transaction. This usually applies when the transaction still needs to be recorded for accounting purposes, but it is not connected to a bill, expense, trust entry, or any other financial record already created in RunSensible. For example, bank fees or similar transactions may appear in the bank feed even though no related business record was created in advance. In this situation, categorizing allows the user to create the appropriate accounting entry directly from the imported bank transaction. To categorize a transaction, click the Categorize button next to the transaction row. This opens the Categorize transaction panel. At the top of the panel, the Transaction Info section displays the bank details exactly as they were imported. This includes the bank account name, transaction date, amount, and whether the transaction is a deposit or withdrawal. This section is read only because it reflects the original bank activity and should not be changed from this panel. Below it, the Categorization Details section allows the user to define how the transaction should be recorded in the accounting records. The Transaction Category field identifies the type of transaction, such as expense, check, transfer, or credit card payment. The Account field determines which chart of accounts will be affected by the transaction. If the required account does not already exist, it can be created directly from this field. The panel also includes a tax field for assigning the correct tax treatment and a payee/payer field for linking the transaction to a contact, such as a client, vendor, law firm, or other organization. If the contact does not already exist, it can be created from the same screen. The memo field can be used to add or update the transaction description, and tags can be assigned for internal tracking when needed. At the bottom of the panel, the Attachments section allows related files to be added using the Upload button. After all required information has been entered, click Save. RunSensible then creates the accounting record based on the selected details and moves the transaction from the For Review tab to the Posted tab. The Match option is used when an imported bank transaction relates to a financial record that already exists in RunSensible. This record may be a bill, expense, trust entry, payment record, or any other financial record that represents money paid, received, or expected to be received. Matching confirms that the real bank transaction and the internal RunSensible record refer to the same financial activity. In some cases, the financial record already exists, but no related transaction has been recorded in the system yet. When this happens, the Match panel displays the financial record itself. Once the user matches it with the bank transaction, RunSensible creates the related internal transaction and links it to the imported bank transaction at the same time. In other cases, the financial record already has a transaction recorded in RunSensible. When this happens, the Match panel displays the existing transaction record. The user can then match the imported bank transaction directly to that internal transaction. In both cases, the purpose is to connect the bank activity with the correct record in the system. Now let's see how to match a bank transaction. To do so, click the Match button on the right side of the transaction row. The system then opens a matching panel. The panel that appears depends on two factors: the bank account type and the transaction direction. The account may be an operating bank or a trust bank, and the transaction may be a deposit or a withdrawal. Because of this, RunSensible provides 4 matching views: operating bank deposit, operating bank withdrawal, trust bank deposit, and trust bank withdrawal. Each view displays only the internal records that could logically relate to the selected bank transaction. For example, an operating deposit usually relates to money received by the business, while an operating withdrawal usually relates to money paid out by the business. Trust deposits and withdrawals are handled separately because trust funds belong to clients and must be tracked by matter. Although each matching panel is designed for a different type of transaction, all match panels share the same general purpose: helping the user connect a real bank transaction to the correct record inside RunSensible. One shared feature is the transaction amount column. If an amount in this column exactly matches the remaining amount of the bank transaction being matched, The system highlights it in yellow. This helps the user quickly identify records that are likely to be the correct match. Another important column is the type column. This column shows what kind of internal record appears in each row. If the type is transaction, the row represents an internal transaction that already exists in RunSensible. If the type is something other than transaction, the row represents a financial record that does not yet have its own transaction recorded in the system. When that type of record is matched, RunSensible automatically creates the related internal transaction and links it to the imported bank transaction. Each panel also includes a remaining amount near the top of the screen. This amount shows how much of the selected bank transaction still needs to be matched. To complete the matching process, the remaining amount must become 0. Whether the panel allows selecting one record or multiple records, the total selected amount must match the amount of the bank transaction. Each match panel includes filters that help users find the correct internal record more easily. The Filter by Client dropdown allows the user to narrow the list to records related to a specific client. After selecting a client, the Filter by Matter dropdown can be used to show only matters related to that client. Once a matter is selected, the panel displays only records connected to that matter. Each panel also includes a blue guidance section at the top, which provides basic instructions for using that specific matching view. After selecting the correct record or records and confirming that the remaining amount is 0, click the Match button at the top right of the panel to finalize the matching process. After a bank transaction has been matched or categorized, it is moved to the Posted tab. This tab contains all bank transactions that have already been processed, whether they were matched to an existing internal transaction or categorized to create a new accounting entry. Each row in the Posted tab represents one completed transaction and shows the final details of how it was processed. The Deposit and Withdrawal columns show whether money was received or paid out. The Pay/Payer column identifies the person or organization involved in the transaction, and the Date column shows when the bank transaction occurred. The Match/Category column explains how the transaction was handled. For categorized transactions, it shows the chart of account affected by the categorization. This field may appear as a drop-down, allowing the user to adjust the affected account if needed. For matched transactions, the column indicates that the transaction was matched to an existing internal record. This helps users understand whether the transaction was processed through categorization or matching. A blue button may also appear on the right side of the Match/Category column. For categorized transactions, clicking this button opens the related journal entry created by the categorization. The journal entry page shows how the transaction was recorded in the accounting system, including the entry title, journal entry date, affected accounts, debit and credit amounts, payee name, memo, and other related details. The debit and credit totals should balance, confirming that the accounting entry was recorded properly. The Payment Channel column shows how the transaction was processed, such as in store, online, or other, when this information is available. The Description column shows the original bank description imported from the bank record. The Tags column displays any tags that were added while categorizing the transaction. Tags are only available for categorized transactions because the matching process does not include an option to add tags. On the right side of each row, the Undo button allows the user to reverse the processed transaction and move it back to the review stage if needed. The Attachments button allows users to add or view files connected to the transaction for record keeping. The App Transactions tab provides a centralized view of all internal transactions created within RunSensible. To access this section, go to the top of the Transactions screen and click App Transactions. This view is different from the Bank Transactions tab. Bank transactions show activity imported or synchronized from real bank accounts, while App Transactions show transactions that were created directly inside RunSensible. These internal transactions may include deposits, withdrawals, trust transactions, expense payments, bill payments, check payments, and other entries created through billing, trust activity, expenses, or manual accounting actions. This section allows users to review system-recorded activity in one place, regardless of how the transaction was originally created. At the top of the page, internal bank accounts are displayed as account cards. Users can select a specific account, such as an operating bank, trust bank, or credit card account. Once an account is selected, the table below updates to show only the app transactions connected to that account. Each row in the table represents one internal transaction. The Pay/Payer column shows who the transaction is related to. The Matter column shows whether the transaction is connected to a specific client matter. The Payment Date column shows when the transaction was recorded. The Transaction Type column identifies whether the transaction is a deposit or withdrawal. The Payment Mode column shows how the payment was made, such as cash or check, and the Amount column shows the transaction value. The check printing panel is accessed from the App Transactions tab by clicking the Print Checks button located at the top right side of the transaction table. This function is used for withdrawal transactions that have check as their payment method. These may include firm expense payments, hard expense payments, trust withdrawals, or other withdrawal transactions recorded in the system with check as the payment mode. The purpose of this panel is to prepare physical checks using transaction information already recorded in RunSensible. The system uses the selected transaction details, such as payee, reference number, date, and amount, to generate a printable check. At the top of the panel, you can see the chart of account affected by the transaction. This account cannot be changed from the check printing panel because the transaction has already been created in RunSensible and the accounting entry has already been recorded. Check printing does not create a new transaction. Instead, it uses an existing transaction that was already recorded in the system and prepares it as a physical check. In simple terms, the system already knows the accounting impact of the transaction. Printing the check only helps you complete the real-life payment using that recorded transaction. The Check Style field allows users to choose the check layout that matches the physical check paper being used. Available styles may include Standard, Voucher Format 1, and Voucher Format 2. When a style is selected, the preview on the right side updates to show where the check information will appear on the printed page. The check number field shows the next check number that will be printed. The last printed check number field shows the most recent check number that was previously printed, helping users keep track of check numbering. If needed, you can also update the transaction date to today's date by turning on the Change Transaction Date to Today's Date toggle. The table in the lower part of the panel displays transactions eligible for check printing. Each row represents a withdrawal transaction recorded with check as the payment method. Users select the transaction they want to print, and the system uses the transaction details to prepare the check. The Payee and Print As fields help control how the recipient's name appears on the printed check. After confirming the check details, click Print Checks at the top right of the panel. RunSensible then generates the check using the selected style and transaction information, and the check PDF is automatically downloaded to the user's device. Okay, that's it for this video. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel to keep up with all the latest videos. As always, we want to thank you for choosing RunSensible.